Alright, shalom. All praise to the Most High. Yehoshua. This is YYBY. So yeah, the first video I did, I kind of like brought out, showed y'all about the track plug. But now I'm really about to go in more depth with the track plug and why this is the best channel strip out. And I kid you not, this is the best channel strip out. Definitely far as options and the quality of it. Now, it's a lot of channel strips that's out there has good quality, but it's a lot of reasons why a lot of people don't like channel strips and why they don't use them as much. They rather use single plugins. But after you finish watching this video, this probably change your mind about what you think about channel strip, and might want to get the track plug. Matter of fact, it's to a point now where this is probably what I want. I would probably only use this, man, when it come to EQ, compression, and mixing down and stuff like that. All right, so now a lot of the things I'm about to explain why it's the best is what the other channel strips lack at, and why most people don't like the other channel strips. And so the things I'm about to tell you of this one is what a lot of the times the other ones don't have. Again. All right, the number one thing is that when it comes to enable, so a channel strip will come with an EQ, compressor, the Hesser, whatever it has, right? But once you go up here and you press this, you can only turn it on and off. That's the only option you got. But on this channel strip here, you can enable the EQ, you can enable the gate, you can enable the compressor, you can enable the second compressor, right? So that means that you can enable all of these and just only hear the EQ. You can enable, you could turn them all off and only listen to one and see how it's working. That's very important. Just like it got a bypass right here. So, that's very important when you want to hear how each one is working. And you can go step by step. So you could just start with the EQ and start EQing it, and then turn on the gate, then start tweaking the gate, and then turn on the compressor, whatever order you want to do it. So that's great. A lot of the channel strips don't have that option. Damn near most of them don't have that option, man. So you can bypass, basically. So you can bypass the overall, you can bypass each one of them. That's great. And then to add to that, you can create your own and add presets to each one of these effects. You got EQ has its own effects. Gate has its own effects you can save. Both compressors has its own effects. And that's great because, again, it help you move faster. Instead of just going to the top up here and just going to effect, a preset. I mean, you can just start with the EQ and just click one and see how it works and how it sound, and then tweak from that, and then you can go step by step. So sometimes that helps the workflow, help you move a little faster. Help you definitely move a little faster and everything. That's another option. The third option is that it's great with memory. And this is a big deal with some people who don't like channel strips. Because when, for example, let's say I move this and I move this, right? And I move this, Jalen, just leave it in the sink. I move this and I turn this or something like this and turn that, right? When you press Control Z on your key, you can't go back. A lot of the channel strips don't remember the memory of what it did. So, but if you go right here and press undo or Control Z, it'll change these back. It'll remember the mistake that you made. Just that simple. That is a real huge feature that most channel strips do not have, and sometimes it pisses people off because, again, it's a memory thing. You close this one, you add another one on the track, and now you don't remember what you did. And also to go with that memory part. So again, like for example, like this is called a track plug, right? So you got a track plug on 8, you got a track plug on track 7. Now, when you go to track 8, you be like, okay, what did I do to this track plug? Like, did I use the EQ? Did I use the compressor? Did I use a deesser? Like, what did I use? I just see TrackPlug when I open it. Well, great about this one is that it identifies and lets you know what you use, because when you see the enabled green, you know what you have turned on. You be like, okay, I got an EQ on this one. I got a gate turned on. I got a compressor turned on. I got another compressor turned on, and I got the limiter turned on. Because when you turn them off, it cuts off. So that's a great identification to let you know. Even the RTA, the graph that show you, the how the music is playing, what frequencies the music is in. So that's a huge feature that again, most of the channel strips do not have. And so the TrackPlug got it. Also, the EQ has 10 bands. You could delete each band. You can get them out the way. You could add them, press add, go up to 10 bands. You can't beat that. I mean, besides, like, if you can't do nothing with 10 bands, man, you're just not good. Really don't need 10 bands. A lot of times you just need like four bands, 4 or 5 bands to get straight to the point with mixing. That's all you really need. That's all you really need. So you got 10 bands, and then on top of that, with the 10 bands, you have what? 11 filter types. Let me delete these. You can go to 11 filter types. Even when you click these right here, you got different types you can click right here. Hold on, let me click one of these. Let me get it right. Did I do it right? Let me see. You can click right here. Let's go add a couple bands. Spread them out right quick. And if you go right here, you got the low chef. Hold on, did I do it right? I didn't do it right. Give me a minute, I did something wrong. 1 second. Drop it back in. Here we go. So when you got the regular EQ, you got the side chains, different concepts, right? When you're using side chain. Right now, check on these right here. You can go right here, change the low pass, you change the high pass, you can change the notch, you can change the band. If you want to do like a quick, change around, whatever. You can go right here, start in the middle, you go to high pass, right here, you go to notch, put a dip in it, go to bandwidth. You can do that quick and easy. You can select one of these, probably do the same thing. I think, let me see. So based on how you set that, like if I select this one, based on what I touch, it changes it up. So you got 11 options you can use on the EQ, and which most EQs have this option anyway. Especially like the top EQs that everybody use now, like when it comes to parametric EQs and everything. So again, most channel strips don't have that feature. They have more the analog look, and that's something that I really don't, it's cool with some people, but again, I'm more of a graph. I listen, and I'm more of a visual person at the same time. So that go back. So now the next thing we're gonna talk about the EQ routing, and that's huge itself, because sometimes they say, well, when you have a track plug or a channel strip, you can't move the compressors or the EQs or the gates around. You can't say, hey, well, I want my EQ last, I want the gate first or the compressor first, or I want it, vice versa. And sometimes, when you route stuff, you get a different sound, and each one has a different approach, how it affects the sound. But we also know that the pros and cons based on how you have those routed. So TrackPlug got a real dope way of how it route its stuff. Really like the most common, perfect professional way, but you still can reroute it in a certain way. And I'm about to explain to y'all. And how this routing start. It first start with the brick wall limiter, right? Let's start right here. Let's go back. Let's reset this. Let me do the factory reset default, right? So first, the routing start with the brick wall limiter. The brick wall filter. You select that, you can roll all the lows off completely. like a straight flat to get all that, you know, it deletes all the noise signals that are outside of the frequency. So the same way with the high frequencies, it does the same thing. So that's when all that unwanted small noise rumbling that you hear inside of the music, sometimes you can't even hear it, but it cleans it up, right? All right, the next signal after this of the routing, it goes to the gate, right? We know what the gate is for. The gate is for cleaning up things, because you know when you put processing, anytime you put compressors and stuff on a noisy sound, all it does is just make the sample sound more noisy. So the point is that you want to clean up first. You want to clean something up first. Even though we do it manually, cleaning out like the extra noises and the breaths in between the tracks, the audio files and everything, we do that first before we put anything on there. But after that, you have another chance to clean. You cleaning with the brick wall filter, and now you got the gate, right? So it routes to the gate. Once it routes to the gate, now let me get it right. Then it's the compressors next. But this is the trick. Based on you have this on pre or post. If the EQ routing is set to pre, the EQ runs after the gate, right? And before the compressor. But if you set this to post, it runs after the compressors. Right? So it's like a, it shapes the tone of character of the sound. So that's the key thing right there. Again, if you're using pre or post, it's going to put that EQ before the compressor or after the compressor based on how you want it. And most top engineers, they like post. But, again, to each his own. There's no rules to it or nothing like that. There's no rules to it at all. And then the output is the limiter. The output is the limiter. And the great thing about this limiter, matter of fact, before the limiter, I talk about the limiter. The compressors, they have a slow auto gain, they have a fast compression, and they have aggressive distortion, and also a config deesser. So you can form it in so many ways because you still got the options right here. And then on top of that, you have the vintage. You got the options for the clean, the RMS, the vintage. Each compressor has 5 options. For vintage warm, vintage RMS, so on and forth. But when you go to the gate, it has the clean and the CLN RMS. That's a huge difference, but it's amazing how it give you both options on, it give you 5 options on the compressor. You have a soft, medium, and hard knee. Now, when they go to the types, this is when you're using sidechain. We normally use the invert EQ, but you have all these other options to make your sidechain work in a different way. Then you got you have a look overhead, which is 1 milliseconds to 5 milliseconds. So this is great options right here, man. But the main thing about it is that most side channel strips don't have is the graph. You got a graph, so you get to see the visual, and you got an RTA to see the sound jumping up and down. Let's play the music. Hold on, let's go to it right quick. I'll play this bass line right here, and just play it. So you can see the graph right here. A lot of people say, just listen to your ears, but I say, look, you gotta listen regardless. You listen as you're doing it. So you can't run away from that. I work better listening and seeing the graph, because the graph will tell me exactly where the sound is at in case I want to roll something off. And then you have a graph of the compressor. You have like a little small graph of the compressor and show the meter of, the compression and everything. So this is great when you're moving this. And when you're moving this, it's connected with the knobs up here. So you got all these options inside this channel strip, because again, a lot of channel strips kind of built around analog, where it's kind of like you don't see no visual of the EQ. And I think the RTA, the visual, that's why I like parametric EQs more. I get it. I know the old school stuff, the purpose of the old school stuff to sound like the old school stuff. That's cool. But I like that clean sound. And, end of the day, a lot of people just care about if it sound good or not. If it sound either warm or it sound crispy clear. That's the most important thing. But again, this is not saying don't use no, graph EQs or, use what you use, man. But for as my perspective, I like the parametric EQs better. I like things with graphs on it that really show more of a visual at the same time as I'm using, because sometimes the visual help you know if you're doing something wrong or not. You can learn from both ways. It'll let you know, okay, when I take roll off this bass, now I see what the visual is doing, and at the same time you listening and you hearing what it's doing. And so it kind of that option is really great for people who don't have a lot of experience when it comes to music. Let's say they new in the game, they learning, and those type of things help them understand the science of music. That's the point. So even if you got the experience, sometimes it's still good to have it. And me, 20 years, I still use them. I love it. I love the concept since they came out. So again, if I'm missing anything, oh yeah, on the limiter got two options where you can use it as a compressor. You can just keep it right in the middle and stop it. It won't go over 0 dB at all. Hell, if you bring it down and say, I'm gonna bring it down to 10 dB, no sound would go over that. And you can use that as a maximizer by turning the volume up. You can make your sound louder, just like a volume. So it's more like a gain in a way, So you can use it as a maximizer or a straight limiter compressor. So people, really take the time out and find out about this plugin, man. These guys been around for years. I mean, years. I remember when I was a young boy, just first discovered these plugins, and I don't know why people sleeping on this plugin. And they got a whole nother family that come with it that I'm gonna show y'all in other tutorials. But everything I just showed you, believe me, if you're gonna get a channel strip, this is the way to go, because it has too many options. And I don't understand why all these channel strips costing what they costing, but not adding none of these options. This is YYBY. Peace.